Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Pints and Quarts, a show from Craft Beer Nation, where we talk about the industry news and the happenings and the shows and reviews and festivals and all that kind of fun stuff. Everything about craft beer, it's right here in 30 minutes or less. I'm Matt Miller, joined tonight by Randy Gardner, Lola Laracy, and Gil Mello. Randy, that's such a tricky name, I guess. I'm going to...
Well, and don't forget Kathy. There's always someone named Kathy.
There's always someone named Kathy somewhere out there. I should just start calling everyone Kathy. So
Yeah,
we're a little bit late going live because our guest tonight has had some problems and can't make it. We were going to interview someone from Wonderland Brewing, but we're going to just kind of wing it, talk about some news, and maybe try and reschedule them another time. So basically, the main stories of tonight were going to be we were going to talk about that wonderful new little brewery. Well, I hope they're wonderful. Everybody who I've talked to have had some beer from them, but we're going to move on past it. If you're in the Broomfield, Colorado area, definitely check out Wonderland Brewing, if only for the can growlers. I think that's an awesome thing that actually I asked them where they got their canner, and the blank growler cans, and they said they got them from Oscar Blues. So he gave me the email address of the guy at Oscar Blues that they bought them from. So they're spreading the love, trying to get people to can their beer.
That's always good to hear.
Yeah, I think quite a few brewers by now mention Oscar Blue as their inspiration or some kind of help on going into canned beers. So
well, I mean, they definitely Oscar Blues definitely proves that you can open a can and get something like 1050 or Dale's Pale Ale, or there is quality beer to be had in cans, and I'm really glad to see the movement heading that way. So the first story here, we're talking about canned beer. We're going to talk about Beer Camp. Gil was found something here this week from CBS News.
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily news, but I just thought about maybe we could, what I like to call the sum of all things with this whole beer camp and this move from Sierra Nevada going east. I mean, they're right now the largest private-owned brewery in the U.S., which, I mean, that's a big deal. Craft beer being about 8% now. Is that still at less than 6 million barrels?
Yeah, they just changed it. It was 2 million, and now you can make 6 million and still be a craft brewery.
So okay.
Sam Adams, right?
Yeah. It was for Sam Adams, but I think Yuengling was one of those breweries that now gains the craft beer tag. So,
well, I wouldn't bash Yuengling that much. I mean, their lager is actually not that bad,
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't hear me bashing them. I like them.
They're the old guys, They're going, I was making beer when you were when your grandmother wasn't even born yet.
Right.
Right.
Well, but at the same thing, Anchor can claim to be the oldest craft brewery. So there's always a good marketing, which part of the game. Yeah, it's still. I think Boston what is that? Boston Beer Company, I think, is the only craft brewer that is bigger than Sierra Nevada right now.
Right.
And I mean, I think it's a little over 350,000 barrels that they're gonna produce on Mills River Brewery. And so I didn't like how they labeled them like building a beer empire, because I think that's a little strong, when you're still doing craft brewer and stuff. But I was wondering what you guys are thinking about. To me, it sounds like a great movement, and this whole thing about how big a brewery is still craft brewery and things like that. And Sierra Nevada, to me, is the epitome of craft brewery, even double their size.
I'll tell you what my opinion is. It almost seems as if breweries like Boston Beer Company and Sierra Nevada are kind of falling victim to their own success. I mean, the reason why they're so big is because they were the pioneers in the industry. So for a long time, they were really the only ones there, and they got really successful and they grew. And so as craft beer, as beer nerds like us, we shouldn't, well, not us per se, like in this hangout, the general us, we shouldn't bash them because they're successful. I mean, that's the whole point. Right? I mean, successful, grow, make more beer, push it out. Now more people can drink your beer. So
Right.
it does seem like they kind of fell victim to their own success.
And it's only an image. For me, it's always been what comes out of the bottle. How does it taste? So that's, I guess you can get to the point where Goose Island. We always go back to Goose Island because they still make some pretty fantastic beers, but they also make some beers that they've taken and commercialized and put on the big brewing systems, and I don't think they taste the same. And they've gone, I don't want to say they've sold their souls to the devil, but they sold out because they wanted larger distribution. And
The Devil's Sons.
that's right. And 312, their wheat beer, is absolutely everywhere. And when I see that on the shelf, and I think that's not a terrible beer, it's better than some of the American light lagers. But when I also see Torpedo or Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale on the shelf next to it, I think there's a quality beer that I can support a company that, to me, is doing it a little bit better. So.
Yeah, and it's all that. It's very hard to define craft beer, but Sierra Nevada, as I said, family-owned. You drink some of their beers, and it's just they make excellent beer, and their employees are always say good thing about them, and that's what matters.
And not to be overlooked is the contribution that they've had on the whole craft beer industry as a whole, because I mean, like, for example, when one of the recent Brewdog episodes, those guys they brewed a beer with, I think it was with Sierra Nevada and Bear Republic, and at the end of it they the two guys, I can't remember their names, but they were talking to Ken Grossman, and they were like, this guy kind of saved us because there was a point where they could not get the hops that they needed. And Sierra Nevada bailed them out, send them the hops. And had they not done that, Brewdog, as we know it, probably wouldn't have existed. And there's another brewery, I think, I can't remember which one it was, but Sierra Nevada helped them out as well. So, they make great beer, and they're also kind of generous with their success and their prowess. Saying they're willing to help other breweries out, and that should not be lost on anybody.
Yeah, I think what I want to say, bringing this up again, it's, I mean, they spend, a little over $100 million, which is going to take, half a decade to get that money back to start with before they make any profit, if I'm not wrong. But, it's going to be cheaper for us here in our area of the country. Beer's going to be priced better, which for me, as a consumer, it's a good point too. So, yeah, I kudos for Sierra Nevada, in my opinion, and I wish them all the best. And I'll be visiting them if I go around Nashville.
Absolutely.
And and also they're they're ambassadors, man. The beer camp is getting attention from CNBC. You know what I mean, or whoever it was, whoever Gil got. Who the article came from, but beer camp is a big deal. It went across the country. Everybody who knows anything about craft beer heard about beer camp. You know what I mean? So that made them ambassadors for that one thing that we all love. And so they may be big, but they're still definitely very much craft.
So when you talk about Sierra Nevada, one of the main reasons that they came to where they came to in Asheville, North Carolina, was the water. I mean, I guess a really good reason was they came to a place where they could afford to get 185 acres and build a brewery that you can kayak up to. So I mean, that's kind of cool in itself. But one of the reasons is, water is the biggest component a large component in the beer making process, and that is kind of in the news these last couple of weeks. Well, last couple of years is the drought out in the West Coast, and Randy found something about that.
Yeah, and not just Sierra Nevada, but even New Belgium and Colorado. I mean, there's a reason why these guys open up their breweries in the Great Smoky Mountains on the East Coast is because of water. And as Matt mentioned, I mean, the drought in California is beginning to definitely have its impact on craft brewers there. For example, Bear Republic, they had plans to expand by like 35%, but because of the drought, they've had to scale that back down to like 15%. And you got breweries like Lagunitas, who they've like installed a wastewater filtration system try to kind of counteract the water shortage in the rivers there. And they've even, well, not just craft brewers but big brewers like Anheuser-Busch and Miller. Those guys are feeling it too, and they're taking drastic actions to try to make sure that they can, try to at least self-manage, their water needs in order to put out the same quality product by their standards that they had been putting out. There was one brewery, I can't remember the name of it, but they even went as far as their conveyor belts in their brewery were metal conveyor belts. And what they did was they took the metal conveyor belts out and put plastic conveyor belts in, because metal conveyor belts required water so that the bottles could slide around on the conveyor belt, whereas the plastic conveyor belts allows the bottles to move around on their own. So it's not just Bear Republic. They're feeling it. Lagunitas is feeling it. California has like 400 breweries, more than any other state in the country. So a lot of these big breweries that we know feel it, but a lot of the smaller breweries that we may not know of, or hear of in the rest of the country, are definitely feeling it, and it will probably have a much bigger impact on them because they don't have the budget to be able to take the steps that are necessary to make changes in their brewery to account for that water shortfall. So this is going to be a big deal, and I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a lot of breweries kind of scaling back and maybe trying to open up second breweries, not just because they want to grow so much, but because they kind of need to in order to remain viable. And not just water to make beer, but they have to do things to make sure that the water that they're using is quality. I mean, probably 99% of the beer that we drink is water.
Yeah.
And if the water isn't good, the beer isn't going to be good. And
well,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Randy. You were summarizing there, and I cut you off.
If the water isn't consistent, if the beer product isn't consistent, then we as the consumers, we're gonna notice it, right? And then we're gonna start saying, I had a bottle that was, made in a bottle that was bottled in Brevard, North Carolina, and then I had a bottle that was bottled in Colorado, and they definitely tasted different, and that's not goodwill for the brewery. So that's something that's definitely shown itself to be problematic.
4 weeks ago, when we met with the good folks at Center of the Universe Brewing in Ashland, do you remember when we asked them why they picked that place and that location for the brewery? And he said, well, it's because they had a big enough. One of the reasons was they had a big enough water line.
Yeah.
Because if you get into a place that doesn't have enough water service to it, getting a larger water supply is hugely difficult. I mean,
you got into hundreds of grands.
Right, because you got to get all these approvals from the water authority and all these other kind of permits and everything else just to consume more water. So the size of their water line really helped them select a location for their brewery. So I mean, I guess you can ship in the yeast, you can ship in the grain, you can ship in the malt, but water's got to be where you build. So
yeah,
that's important.
Absolutely, and especially in that area of California, I believe quite a few of the breweries, I guess you could call signature breweries, get their water from the Russian River, right? So that river is shrinking, and those guys are feeling it. And they're, some guys have taken like voluntary 20% cuts on the water, and there's a chance that voluntary shortage or voluntary reduction could become mandatory, which could impact them again later on down the road. And to kind of segue the problems that breweries are having right now, it doesn't just revolve around water. One of the main components, especially for us, that we like of beer is hops.
Yeah.
And there is a massive hop shortage right now. Well, I guess not just right now. There's been a hop shortage for a long time, right?
Yeah.
But think about it. How right now there are like 2,500 breweries?
3,040.
Okay, my bad. 3,040, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to be a brewery, what's the one solid beer that you have to make to be viable today?
Got to make an IPA.
you got to make an IPA, and the number one component in an IPA, we know malts are important, but
Right.
but the highlight of any IPA or just about any IPA is the hops.
Right.
And if there's a hop shortage, you're gonna have breweries that are fortunate enough to be able to have such a high demand that they can garner really good contracts with hop growers like Hop Union and such. But if you get the local brew pub or even the regional brewery, if they can't have the muscle to get those types of hop contracts, then they're definitely gonna feel it, man. And it's a tough time for those guys right now, man. It's a tough time.
Well, a good segue here. Let's talk a little bit about our review of the week, because the review of the week comes from a guy, and he's reviewing the Unapologetic IPA from Stone. So if there's anybody who apparently who gets any hop they want, it's Stone Brewing.
They get new hops.
They do.
Well, that's because it's run by Jesus.
Right. In this unapologetic IPA, it's a collaboration between them, Beechwood, and Heretic. And it highlights this Belma hops, which is a brand new hop. I've never heard of it. I have no idea if it's grassy, piney, whatever it's going to be, but it's new, it's out there, and Stone's going to crank it into a beer and let everybody taste it. So, I mean, that's what they do, is they do hoppy IPAs, and I'm thankful for that. But this one came out. I have not seen it here on the East Coast. Randy, have you seen this thing around? Have you seen Unapologetic in your store?
A friend of mine actually got a bottle for me that I don't know where she got it from, but she got a bottle for me, and I'm supposed to be I was supposed to get it tonight.
Yeah.
But I'll get it. I'll probably get it tomorrow or something.
Well, that's got Belma hops highlighted in it. Drink it fresh. But this beer blog that's out there, it's called Beer and Me. It's .wordpress.com, and the guy's name is Dylan. That's all I know about it. He's doing a good job of keeping himself anonymous on the internet. But he writes these little reviews, and I kind of like his style. And this one it's a 90 IBU IPA. It's definitely unapologetic. It's got the Belma hops in it, and like I said, it's Beechwood, Stone, and Heretic Brewing coming together to brew this beer. And I'll read a quote from his thing here now. The color on this beer is a nice gold with cream white head and good carbonation. The nose on it I found to be faint, but that there was a blend of citrus and honey. I like the sound of honey in a nose like that. The taste in this beer is clean, hoppy, and just enough malt to give the hops something to stand on. The blend of hops that were used in this is very unique. Very bitter, but at the same time smooth. Lately, I've been pushing my tongue to the roof of my mouth to try and assess just how bitter something is, and this one is noticeably more bitter than their standard IPA. I feel it's more approachable, though. The finish lingers on for a bit, leaving that gentle bitterness behind for a while. This guy found himself drinking this one way too fast because of how deceptively smooth it is, which is probably a good thing, though dangerous. If you can get a hold of this one, do it. It's a one-off, and it'll be gone very, very soon. So I'm anxious to hear. After that, I'm anxious to hear Randy's thoughts on it sometime.
Yeah, I saw in my bottle shop they have a case there, and they still had it yesterday. So maybe I should pick one of those up.
Well, let me put this out there. So, like, we were harping, but there's also another hop that they use called Azacca, Azacca. Never heard of that.
Yeah.
So it's Azacca, it's Belma, and yet to be named varieties from Washington's Yakima Valley. So I remember seeing the video, the YouTube video that Stone put out about this beer.
Yeah.
And some of the hops are like. The name would be something like.
Uh-oh. The name would be something like, and we lost Randy Gardner. Well, you know what? It's all right that we lost Randy. I mean, I'd like Randy to come back, but in the meantime, we've picked up.
We lost Randy.
In the meantime, we've picked up Joshua Willett. So we're going to spend the last couple of minutes. We've only got about 10 more minutes of the show here, but we're going to spend the last 10 minutes with talking with Joshua Willett from Wonderland Brewing. And a big thanks to Gil for helping Joshua get set up here, or maybe Joshua.
I did, and he got in his.
Oh, he figured it out. All right. Well, I'm gonna unmute him here, and I'm not gonna unmute him. Click the little microphone. Oh, never mind. I got you. All right, Josh, we got you unmuted here. Say hello to everyone at home. All right.
How are you all doing this evening?
We are doing fantastic. We did start the show a little bit talking about Wonderland Brewing. Some of the things that impressed me or intrigued me, I will say, are that you can growlers there in the tap room for folks to take home. That's a novelty that I dig, and I'd like my folks around here to do.
I don't really feel like cans are a novelty at all.
The 32-ounce can growler though is a novelty.
Well, you know, every time somebody comes up with something ultra nifty, it's certainly neat, but I think it's fantastic that beer is going into a can. Cans are by far the best package for beer. Not necessarily the best drinking vessel,
right,
but by far the best package, and we're proud to support that.
Well, good. All right. Well, Joshua, let's get right down to it here. We're glad to have you. Let's talk a little bit about your history. Talk a bit about the forming of the brewery.
Well, you know, when we started thinking about where the brewery was coming from and how we were going to formulate it, we really wanted to focus on diversity and variety. And the things we were aiming for, I feel like we are on our way to achieving. We're doing English beers and Belgian beers and IPAs. Our first sour went into a bright tank today. And we're focused on generating, you know, an interest in quality local craft beer. And, you know, hopefully someday we may take that semi-regional. But, you know, just keeping this mentality about good, high-quality beers, the idea that beer is food. You know, I don't expect people to eat the same thing every day. I don't want them to drink the same thing every day. I want this to be something fun and enjoyable for the people that are able to come to the brewery and drink the beer right now, and maybe someday even get the beer somewhere else.
Now, do you guys, other than the growlers out of the tap room, do you bottle or can anything production line-wise?
Currently, we are kegging a few beers off for some local restaurants, and we are avidly discussing canning line.
Well,
we're looking at 16-ounce and 12-ounce cans right now.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about the sour that went into the bright tank today. How did you ferment that? What's the base beer?
So the base beer is very traditional. It's pale two-row, fair amount of wheat, and a little bit of oats. So in a lot of respects, you might see that as the base for a saison or farmhouse ale. We did a lactose starter, so I like to call this the modern style of making sours. This is something that like Boulevard does. This is something that Trinity and Colorado Springs does. Ron Jeffries, on occasion, will do things like this, where you are fermenting your wort hot side with lactobacillus in the kettle, and that allows you to keep that lactobacillus on one side of your brewing operation, reducing the risk of infection. And the benefit of it is it's very quick, and I think that you can get really good flavor out of it, but to some extent the downside is on occasion it's a little one-dimensional. So what we've done with it is we sat around and we tasted it and we thought about it, and we're going to add plums to this beer as it ages, which I think will hopefully add a little bit of extra acidity, but a kind of a nice depth to complement that lactobacillus sourness.
So if it's in the bright now, when will it be tapped?
We are aiming to tap it in about 2 weeks over Labor Day weekend.
Fantastic.
So fairly short turnaround, I think.
I see you have dates on your one of your candle, and also I love beers with dates. You know, I think that's a good thing. Are you intending to do that on all your canning that you're coming?
Well,
with,
the growlers are filled just in a tap room, so the bartender will hand date them.
Correct. Yeah, we normally just hand date our cans as they go out the door. But we have talked about something that we find to be very intriguing is that, you know, very, very small batch, you know, hand bottled or hand numbered, you know, that's the personality we hope to have as a brewery. You know, we only have a 10-barrel brew house. We make, you know, 300 gallons of beer at a time, but it's not a lot. It's really, really not a lot of beer, and that I think allows us to work on that diversity, and that comes with its own challenges. It definitely comes with its own challenges.
Are you fermenting at 10 barrels, or are you fermenting at 20? Are you double batching into fermenters?
We do have 20-barrel fermenters on the property. We are looking at 30 and 40-barrel fermenters for the production beers we're hoping to package. But right now, every beer we're making is coming out. We actually ferment about 12.3. It's 1,500 hectoliters.
Right.
So I pay taxes in barrels, but I make beer in metric.
That's right. What are you drinking? I see your glass has got something in it now.
Oh yeah, so I'm drinking. I brought home it's a Hefeweizen. It's a Weiss beer. But as per usual, I like to look at history and then kind of give it a little twist. So it's a German, very German recipe: 55% pale malt, 45% wheat, Tettnang, Hallertau Sapphire hops. But we ferment it with a Belgian wheat yeast. So I would say it maintains that banana on the nose, a little bit of the reduced kind of clove character, and then it has this nice fruity finish, somewhat reminiscent of a wit, but not entirely, wit-esque. It's a nice cross. It's a little bit fruitier for a summer wheat ale.
I was gonna say this time of year, that would be a popular beer around here for sure.
I wouldn't mind it. I love your glass messes.
Yeah, the glasses. Tell us a little bit about that. How are you not being sued by half a dozen companies?
Well, actually, as long as we do the art ourselves, Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland is in the public domain.
Ah, there you go.
As crazy as it sounds, our goal is not to live in that world, and we really don't want to live in that world. We want to be playful. We want to be wonderful, but we don't want to get locked into some closet. And so, outside of our one beer we're naming Alice, we're trying to stay in that realm of wondrous, creative ideas, but we're not necessarily pushing that theme too far.
I wouldn't mind to fall in a rabbit hole full of beer. That would be okay with me.
How about the Mad Canner?
Right, the Mad Canner, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mad as a canner. All right.
Hey,
go ahead, Randy.
So is that the whole premise behind the name Wonderland?
Yeah.
What's really interesting about our facility, we're actually located on almost 4 acres of land. We bought an old church that the last church to use it was using it as a youth group. And so there's basketball courts, and there's 2 acres of grass, and we're putting in bocce ball courts. And so, we kind of wanted a name that encompassed this idea. We thought it would be almost a shame to short sell ourselves and put ourselves in a box too early. So we're trying to keep that, that thought process in mind as we, explore cool stuff.
So you're like the Google
Awesome.
of beer. You just
We're
need
trying.
a cafeteria. That's cool.
All right. Well, you guys are just due north. Well, I guess you're kind of northwest of Denver there. You're between Denver and Boulder. Cindy Mulchaney, one of our good friends, she runs does whatever at the craftbeveragejobs.com site. And she asks, since you are so close to Boulder, are you guys going to be a part of the Boulder Craft Beer Festival next weekend?
I know we're going to a festival next week, but I don't know which one.
They don't tell
It's
you.
the summer
They don't tell you until the van
I
pulls
know
out.
that some of you have been around the industry long enough to know that this is high time to give away lots of beer to lots of people.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, then we're hoping that that's a positive. Yes. So,
I'm hoping to.
Let's go on record as saying they might be going to the Boulder Craft Beer Festival next weekend.
If not, we should be.
If not,
know.
on your way back to Denver, just stop in Broomfield and get a pint.
There you go.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we've kind of shot our 30 minutes here, so let me run down through a couple of the releases, and you guys chime in if anything sounds interesting. But the Left Hand Oktoberfest, that is right out there in your neck of the woods. That is coming out. Looks like it came out last week. I know it's still August, but I'm ready for these fall lagers. I'm ready for these seasonals to I'm more ready for an Oktoberfest than I am for a spiced beer. That's for sure. Star Hill and Hardywood Park. Those are breweries right here where I'm at in Virginia. They've got a fall something or other fall fest collaboration that's coming out. Boulder Beer has got a Dragonhosen Imperial Oktoberfest. It's funny, an Imperial Oktoberfest when an Oktoberfest is an Imperial lager to begin with. So that's an Imperial lager of some sorts there. So do you think that is imperially brewed? I mean, did they use like 10 brewers to make that beer? They might have.
Or maybe they just have an attitude. They're very imperial.
Well, they're close. They're close to you there, right? That's Boulder.
Yeah, right up the road there.
Boulder Beer's up the road.
I'm anxious to know what Dragonhosen is. I'm gonna have to look that up sometime because I just picture like, I don't know. Lederhosen.
Dragon in Lederhosen.
Or dragon-shaped Lederhosen.
It's like Khaleesi's dragons in Lederhosen.
There you go, Khaleesi and
Khaleesi
Lederhosen. Oh man, I'm gonna make a graphic of Khaleesi and Lederhosen now.
I want that with pigtails.
Due South Brewing's got a Maple Orange Imperial Caramel. They came out last week. There again, lots of words in every single beer that's being made. Two Roads Brewing in Connecticut has made a Rosemary. I wonder if that's a Rosemary. I don't know. Rosemary's Baby Rum Aged Pumpkin Ale. Whew, man, you talk about making a guy read some terrible stuff.
Rosemary Baby Rum Aged Pumpkin Ale.
Yeah, says the Brazilian. All right, well, the festival is these next couple of weeks. Boy, I didn't know this. DC Beer Week is next week. Randy, get yourself ready. August the 17th to the 24th. I just call out work now, I guess. Call off sick. The eighth annual Brouhaha in Cincinnati is next weekend, the 22nd and 23rd. Gettysburg Brew Fest is coming up on the 23rd. Gil, maybe we'll have to meet for that one.
Yes, we do.
Sarasota Beer Festival is in Sarasota, Florida on the 23rd. And what is the 23rd? Is that Friday? Saturday next weekend. The 25th Annual Sierra Brew Fest is in Nevada County Fairgrounds in Grass Valley, California on the 23rd. And Seattle's International Beer Festival in Seattle on next weekend, 22nd to the 24th. So I think we all need to get our airline tickets for a few of those.
Yep.
Well, let's get airline tickets and fly to Colorado.
Yeah,
I think they call
go to Wonderland.
Yeah. No, the Dragonhosen, I think they call Imperial Oktoberfest because it's at 9% alcohol by volume, if I'm not wrong. That's the.
Well, that's
a pretty heavy Oktoberfest. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and you wouldn't think, the mouthfeel on this Oktoberfest is just stunning and bold.
This is a boozy.
Breathing fire.
Yeah, breathing fire.
Is a boozy Oktoberfest.
Well, all right. Well, that's our half hour for tonight. Thanks to everybody. Thanks for joining us, Joshua, here coming in at the last minute, filling in for the second half of the show. We appreciate your time. We look forward to great things coming from Wonderland Brewing. We look forward to maybe you guys distributing so we can talk our Colorado friends into shipping us some of your beer.
We'll do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, there you go. So, that's right. You can those growlers. That's what I should.
We do.
Yeah, we should. Although, it's not legal to ship, but we'll figure out a way around that. So.
Yeast samples for analysis.
There you go.
And I'm going to analyze it. That's for sure.
You don't ship. You send. We don't ship beer. We send beer.
That's right. We send.
That's correct.
All right. Well, everybody, this has been fun. It's been a half hour. We're here Friday night. Next week, we're going to move to Thursday night next week. I'm going to try and stay there for a little while, 9:30 instead of 9 p.m. So tune in next Thursday for our new schedule. Until then, find some good friends. Get some good Wonderland's Brewing beer. And mind your P's and Q's.
Cheers.